What if I told you that military principles could apply in the financial world? That's the idea driving a new financial platform, Guild Financial. But what is the purpose of Guild Financial, and why are investments in financial literacy so important? Sean Bonner and Michael Conallen of Guild Financial join us to talk about those questions and more. That's all coming up right here, right now. I'm Sam Chen, and this is Face the Issues. Good evening and welcome to Face the Issues. I'm Sam Chen. Military strategy. We usually reserve this for the battlefield. But what if I told you that military principles could apply in finance? That's the driving heartbeat behind Guild Financial. And tonight, we're joined by their founders, Sean Bonner and Michael Conallen. Gentlemen, welcome to Face the Issues. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
It's good to have you guys here. Now, I wanted to just start 30,000 foot idea, and we're going to get into the need for financial literacy. But just very, very basically, Guild Financial, new platform, new group. Why did you start this? What need did you see?
Well, Sam, I spent a career on Wall Street, and then after 9/11, I was had the calling and was fortunate enough to get a commission in the Navy Reserve as an intelligence officer. And through that combination of my time serving as an intel officer in the Navy and also still working on Wall Street, managing a mutual fund, I saw a real need for a better way for retail consumers to invest. Wall Street still wasn't treating them correctly, and I could see even further, it was pretty evident to me that on a regular basis, usually by one weekend a month or a couple weeks a year when I was on active duty, that there was a huge unmet need in the military for a personal wealth platform, for financial education, financial advice. The market was completely underserved. So that was really, it was glaring in our face, and something that now that we talk about it sort of in a public manner, everyone seems to say, oh yeah, right, of course.
I want to ask about financial literacy. It's so important, everyone knows it. We've always said everyone has a level of financial literacy. For some people it might be zero, but everyone has a level of it. You just mentioned in the military, it's lacking, and it seems to be lacking throughout society. Only 33% of Americans even attempt to make a budget. Why is that it's so lacking?
I think it's partly sort of cultural where we are these days, and the advent of a lot of technology. So it used to be you would have to write out a check and manage a checkbook and balance your checkbook, right? I'm old enough to actually remember that. Now with Venmo and PayPal, with just a few taps, you go out for lunch with somebody, you can tap your money to them, and really sort of the underpinnings of the system, what the actual mechanics of the system are sort of gone because of that technology. The technology is great, it removes a lot of friction, but it also removes sort of a basic understanding of how the system works.
Sure.
Yeah, and I think our basic education system doesn't necessarily place a high priority on financial literacy, right? I mean, Sean and I can tell you that when I came up through elementary school, when we learned about financial literacy, about how to write a checkbook, it was part of home ec.
Wow.
Right? And so when we saw firsthand, in the military, where our military brothers and sisters literally are left to fend for themselves, right? And we also know that in the military that the training is at the core of everything we do. And there was a complete void. There was no void to help military men and women prepare themselves to be financially sound. Mm-hmm. And we know, right? We know from multiple studies that the number one concern of military families pre-deployment is not necessarily the health or the welfare of the family member deploying. It's finances. Mm-hmm. How are we going to pay the bills when that family member is overseas? Are we going to be prepared financially for that hardship that the family is going to face? And so, financial literacy and financial training and education, it's not just about making people smarter about their finances,
Sure.
but it's also alleviating some of the concerns that military men and women have pre-deployment.
Yeah, a few years ago, we had a gentleman here who started something called the Financial Literacy Center at the Lehigh Valley, and he tried to identify 5 groups where they were hit the hardest by a lack of financial literacy. And he said that usually it came in life changes. So if you lose a spouse, if you're an immigrant, and one of the 5 was veterans and those deploying in the families. Exactly your point, Mike, that because of that life change, the largest question usually was what were they going to do financially? Right. Let me ask you, you talked about the financial education bit. This is always interesting when you spent your career on Wall Street, Sean. people seem to just be confused when it gets to investments and bonds and mutual funds and annuities and things like this. One of the basic principles, we always joke that love is not the most powerful force in the world, it's compounding interest. But that could work for or against someone, right? Could you break that down a little bit on why compounding interest is so important and why people should know about it?
Sure, and when you really think about compounding interest and time, right? They're the superpower that the youth has. The superpower that the youth has that they probably don't enable enough. And that's one of the tenets that Warren Buffett talks about a lot. When you just look at a kind of simple calculation, so there's the rule of 9, right? At a 9% interest, your money will double every 9 years. So when people kind of think about it that way, it makes more sense. But then, okay, if I have a loan and I'm just paying a small part of it, but I have a 9% interest, right? That's going to add up too. So it's interest bearing or return bearing. Those are two things you need to keep in mind. And piling on debt at a young age, it doesn't get any better. At the same time, piling on investments that will produce positive returns for you, it helps you down the road immensely.
So this is stuff that can work for you or against you. And a lack of financial literacy isn't just, I'm not making money, you're actually losing money.
Absolutely, and to your point on compounding interest, I mean, Sean and I, one of the basic tenets of our platform is that we're going to give foundational knowledge, right? And compounding interest and the power of compounding interest is one of those things that we want to teach, the folks who come on our platform, and incentivizing really positive investing behavior, right? We want to talk about, it's not about timing the market, it's about time in the market, right? The longer you stay in the market, the more likely you are to be a successful investor, and let the power of compounding interest be your friend.
Yeah. Mike and Sean, let me ask you guys this. You mentioned that part of the platform, part of the work you guys want to do with this isn't just, here's an app to invest in, it is the financial literacy piece. There seems to be a hesitancy among people, especially young people, but in general, there seems to be a hesitancy about gaining financial literacy or investing. And I spent years as a financial advisor, and I always heard, I haven't hit the threshold of money needed. And there's this idea that's almost lost that you can start with $50 a month in the sense of, well, I don't have $1 million yet, or I'm not at an age where I should invest yet. Why do you see such a hesitancy?
Yeah, I think for two big reasons, right? Traditionally, for different reasons, Wall Street has had two main barriers. Right? One is an economic barrier. So to open an account in a lot of brokerage firms or a lot of financial advisors, you have to have a minimum amount, say $2,500 or $5,000. With the advent of mobile apps coming out recently and commission-free trading, that's been alleviated. But still, then we look at Amazon, right? Amazon's trading at roughly $2,800 a share. So if you have an account, you start off with $1,000, you want to start savings, start investing. Well, you invest in what you know. I order stuff from Amazon once a month. I go to buy one share of Amazon. It's more than my whole account value. So that's been another economic barrier. Fortunately, with some of the advents now that have come about in these mobile apps and fintech, now we have fractional share investing. So on the Guild platform, with just $1, you can buy a piece of Amazon or Tesla or most major stocks. So that's really removed the economic barrier. And again, we have no account minimums, obviously, with $1 investment increments. But then it's the informational barrier, right? Sure. Great. So I can invest, okay, and I know Amazon, I know Apple. What am I going to do beyond that? So that's really where I think we've had a revolutionary and disruptive concept, taking in crowdsourced intelligence and collective intelligence and sort of delivering that as a better way for people to get ideas about objective investing and also create a community of trust.
Yeah, I mean, there's it's the unknown, Sam. I mean, people fear the unknown. And so there's a fear of sort of jumping into trying to become an investor because they don't have that basic understanding of stocks and dividends and bonds and all of the things that you mentioned. We want to demystify that, and we're going to go further. We want to incentivize the users on our platform to get some basic education. So we actually pay our users. They come on the platform, they watch a short video, not more than a minute, answer a few questions to show that they actually retain the knowledge, and we put $5 in their account. And we're going to continue that process. Sean and I have a pretty big goal, and I'll let Sean talk about our goals here.
Yeah, so when we talk about the financial education piece, right, it was with any education, right? It's got to be approachable, it's got to be digestible, but especially in the military, we understand training. Right? Well, anything you do in the military, you get trained on it, but you get paid for that training. So that was really let's have the incentive to pay this group to become better investors. And why do we do that? Because then they're going to be long-term good clients right down the road. So we really look at, okay, what's the size of the force we're looking at? What's the real need? So our goal over the next 5 years is to spend $30 million on incentives for active duty and reservists to come and take financial education. And that's just for incentives, just paying them to take it, right? That's aside from anything else. And that goal leads to the bigger goal of getting that population to save $15 billion and invest $15 billion over the next 5 years. And once they do that, right, their financial freedom, their financial security in the next 20 years will be much improved.
When you sit down with someone, both of you have told stories about people in the military that have struggled with financial advice. I remember we talked before, you said you've run the young cadets even who just, wait, what do you mean I get money back for keeping my money in the account?
Right.
Where do you begin that conversation? You guys have these great goals, you have the platform. When you sit down with them, or anyone who's watching, what do you say to them about why they need to do this?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, one of the things that's offered to us in the military is the thrift savings plan, and then we have a retirement plan. And the military and the Department of Defense recently changed the plan to have a blended retirement, where, you know, in the past you had to do your full 20 and then you got your pension. But now they've created sort of a blended 401k style, right? And it's a tremendous benefit, right? But young soldiers, sailors, airmen, guardsmen, whomever, right? They don't necessarily understand the power, or they don't understand how that even works, right? They don't understand how they make contributions to a TSP program through their pay stub. So we start at the very basic level. We have training modules on our system that were created by the DoD through the Office of Financial Readiness that literally tells a sailor or soldier how to read their pay stub.
Wow.
How to read their, what we call
literally basics 101.
A leave and earning statement, that this is your basic pay. These are your deductions, taxes, and the like. All right? That's where you have to start. You have to start at the most basic level and then build from there. You know, we always talk about it in the military, and we have another founder who's a former Navy SEAL, Kaj Larson. And the SEALs, it's all about crawl, walk, run. Right? That's how you properly train someone to accomplish an objective or a mission. And we want to do the same thing with our financial literacy. It's a crawl, walk, run. We need to start at the beginning, and then we'll get to the complex stuff.
Yeah. You were saying earlier on the same question. I mean, what do you say to someone as you sit down with them?
Yeah, well, you know, really from a cultural perspective, right? When you look at the military, it's mostly, you know, a millennial Gen Z force, right? Depending on where you draw the line, average age 27 years old. So their peer groups are already on these other commission-free mobile apps trading. Their peers are already trading cryptocurrency. So, you know, this is a very early adopter generation for technology, right? They're very savvy with technology, and they hear about their friends and they see going on, right? You can't turn on the TV without hearing about cryptocurrency and you know, somebody getting rich with it. We try and really kind of focus them and say, look, let's think about things that are going to be there for the long term, right? This is investing, it's not speculation, right? If you want to take your $100 and go gamble, you can do that on DraftKings. That's not what this is, right? This is a platform for you to help you build long-term wealth, right? And to secure your financial freedom by doing that. So, you know, they're already sort of primed for it. Now they just got to be sort of nudged in the right direction, I think.
And there's a void. No one has been paying attention to that sort of group, that affinity group.
Correct.
Right. And as Sean had mentioned, right, you know, if you've got a young sailor who's got $300, $400, $500 to invest, he can't walk into Morgan Stanley or Merrill Lynch, right, and say, I want to open up an investing account. It doesn't make sense for them, right, for their business model. So we've taken down those barriers to entry, right? We don't want them to go in without any education and training, and we're going to give them that as well. But, you know, we're going to give them that tool that they can use and the training they can use to access, you know, the way to build wealth that, you know, some people thought was unattainable because I didn't have enough money to open a JP Morgan account.
So you start with the crawl.
Yeah, it's a low consequence environment, right? When you're young and it's $100, right? But you know, it's sort of what we call in the military that on-the-job training, that OJT. It's true for investing too.
You got to start somewhere.
Right.
Right. So we're going to go to the break. When we come back, I want to talk more about your platform specifically and some of the things that you guys offer. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Face the Issues is produced and recorded in the studios of Lighthouse TV. Positively different.
Welcome back to Face the Issues. Sean, Mike, thank you again for being here. I want to talk specifically about Guild Financial. There's a lot of apps out there, but you guys are doing something that's a little bit different than what everyone else is doing. You say on your website, military grade investing. And I know you talked a little bit about this crowdsource idea. Can you talk about where this connection comes between the military side and the financial side?
Yeah, Sam, and it really is sort of the intersection of two careers I had, two very different careers I had that I ran simultaneously. I mean, that's the life of a reservist. You have sort of your day job and then this weekend job that's usually much different. So for me, the idea has really been kicking around for a long time. And when I was first exposed to it was back in 2006 when I was training intelligence training school down in Virginia. And there's some case studies that the Navy and Navy intelligence is very specific about with crowdsourced or collective intelligence. And the concept sort of laid out, and that methodology was laid out for some different scenarios, similar to some products I'd seen on Wall Street. Goldman Sachs has what they call a VIP index, which is now an ETF, the GVIP, and that's the crowdsourced popular picks of the top 150 hedge funds.
Okay.
So it's the 50 most frequent stocks or popular stocks from these big hedge funds. And that index, that ETF, has performed very well over the last 20 years. But in thinking about it sort of in a bigger terms, right, if we could take that same methodology, make it for a community of people, give it in real time, because that index essentially only gets rebalanced or looked at once a quarter, and when they look at it once a quarter, the information is pretty delayed. So it's sort of a real-time collective intelligence and really be able to mine into the conviction of investors. And so that's a very familiar and analogous app or experience to a lot of things we do every day but don't realize, like Yelp, right?
Yeah.
When you look on Yelp, what do you see? You see a star rating at the top, right? This place is, we're going to go for lunch here. This has got 4 stars. It must be good. TripAdvisor, I'm going to come up and watch a football game at Lehigh. I want to stay somewhere nearby, right? What is this hotel's rating?
Right.
So same thing with picking your investments, right? You can see what other people are doing in real time and give you at least some confidence, right? The whole idea about collective intelligence, I mean, academically it should perform well, but it's more about giving people visibility and trust and transparency.
Yeah, every Navy intel officer, when you go through your basic intelligence training, we're taught it's pounded into us the notion of collective intelligence, and that none of us is smarter than all of us.
Sure.
And that we should never keep blinders on when we're trying to solve an intelligence problem. And in an operational setting, the true good intelligence comes from taking viewpoints from all of the sources that you have, right? If you're a human intelligence officer, you can't just rely on your human sources. You also do need to be talking to your signals intelligence guys. You also need to be talking to your imagery guys. You also need to be talking to the weather guys. You also need to be talking to supply guys. And when you take all of that crowd wisdom, that's when you get a really solid, meaningful intelligence that you can use. And Sean, saw the analogy between the index fund and how we collectively use intelligence as a crowd, and said, why can't we do the same thing with investing, right? And so each member of our platform, all the decisions that they make from an investing standpoint, we bring those decisions, we bring that wisdom together to create our crowdsourced portfolio.
Yeah, and one caveat to that, Sam, right? I mean, we are intelligence officers, I'm a former intelligence officer, and we live in a top secret world. So of course, everyone is anonymized coming on the platform.
Right.
So you get a username, you can share your information if you want, you cannot share it if you want. When you go in and see someone's holdings or portfolios, you're just seeing percentages and a username. So there's no specific name, no personal identifiable information, right? Not even the account size. If you're looking at someone's portfolio, you don't know whether it's $1,000 or $10,000.
You're just seeing how it's performing. You're not actually seeing what they're.
And every investor wants to make positive investment decisions.
Correct,
Everybody wants their portfolio to appreciate. We harness the power of all those individual decisions, right? We want to take all that intelligence, right, and we bring it together, right, and then we create that collective intel portfolio. And it's, for lack of a better understanding, it's the 30 most commonly held stocks of everybody on the platform, right? And that the theory is that everybody making those individual decisions, trying to improve their own individual position, if you put it all together collectively, that's going to be a very powerful and successful portfolio.
Right. The powers, as you said earlier, the collective, collective intelligence.
But we also need independent decision making.
Sure.
Right. So, if you think about Yelp or you think about TripAdvisor, right, you look at the star rating, but if you're like me, you'll start scrolling through the individual reviews and like, wait, that's got a 1-star review. And if it's for a restaurant, you're like, well, I got a parking ticket out front. Okay, that has nothing to do with me. But if there was a cockroach in my salad, right, that kind of matters.
Right.
So what we do is we actually arrange everyone on our platform over the last day or week or month. So we take everybody, We stack them and rank them just like we do in the military. So you can see over those different time periods who's performed and what they have in their portfolio. So tonight, when the market closes, we'll have today's leaderboard. And you can go on and see the top 250 portfolios on there and what they've had. And with one click, you can take a look at just the percentages and the names that they've had in there. But the idea is about sort of being able to dive down to the more individual information just for a source of transparency and collective information to help people make better decisions.
That's a really neat principle to approach this. And then you also have this financial literacy side to it where it's for your military. Or I guess the first question is, do you have to be the military to get on Guild?
No, so Guild, we say, is built for the military community, and when you go on, you see the platform is it's got some military iconography, but it's open to anyone, right? We're pretty clear about that. We've got this corporate social mission, right, to spend this $30 million on incentives to get this military community save $15 billion. But anytime anyone comes on and supports the military and supports this community by opening an account or investing through Guild, they're supporting that social mission as well.
Oh, that's great. And so the financial literacy part, now, is that reserved for military personnel?
Well, we've got two basic sections. We've just got a basic investing and money section. So like the first video we talk about is investing versus savings, right?
Sure.
It's a 58-second video. It's 2 easy questions at the end. But then there's ones on compound interest. There's another one on diversification. There's one on market volatility. So those are ones that anyone can benefit from. They're all short. They're all approachable. Then we've got the military money section, right? So that's how to read your LES, your leave and earnings statement, right? Everyone in the military has always had their pay messed up at some time or other. And you go to look at your LES and it's like trying to read the Rosetta Stone, right? Same thing, like you talk about life changes, right? In the military, it happens all the time. Every 2 years, you're getting a change of duty station. So what to do then? What to do at separation? What to do at promotion? What to do when you're having a kid? The other part of it is in the military, there's lots of great benefits, right? Your basic pay is really only part of your sort of total package in the military. And there are lots of other benefits that our military members, our brothers and sisters, don't necessarily take advantage of that they should be.
That's really, let me ask you this. Obviously, you guys have been around, you're a new group you're not new to the financial industry, but Guild Financial is new. It's a newer platform. How has it done? How has it performed thus far? I mean, we're living chaotic times. The market's going up and down. There's a lot of fluctuations. How has Guild Financial done, and how have your members done?
So the reaction's been great. We had a beta that we rolled out in November and started opening that up at the beginning of the year. But like for the month of December, we had a woman who's a military supporter. She was one of our early adopters, a friend of one of our West Coast co-founder. She came on. She had never bought a stock for herself before.
Oh, wow.
And at the end of December, we had a decent amount of people on the platform. She was the #1 investor for the entire month of December with a portfolio of blue chip stocks, like nothing crazy, Pfizer, Costco, Home Depot. Market was roughly flat. She made 10%.
Wow.
And she came to us and she said, I never thought I could do this, but this is pretty easy and simple. And now I have the confidence where I never thought I had before. So for us, whether it's military or civilian, that's really fulfilling our mission, right? It's opening up this market, opening up the American economy for people that deserve to have a piece of it.
Yeah.
And we've seen tremendous engagement with the app, right? There's the one sort of step of downloading the app and creating an account and then maybe putting money in and making investments. But the collective portfolio and the leaderboard keeps bringing our users back because they want to see. And every time they come back and they look at the portfolio or they look at the leaderboard, they're getting more educated about investing because they're seeing what's working, what isn't working, what a diversified portfolio looks like.
So someone wants to do it, the website is again?
It's Guild.Financial, or if you just go onto the App Store or the Google Play Store and just search for Guild Financial or Guild Military, it pops right up. And it's a mobile app available on both Android and Apple.
Free download, 0 commissions. When you make a trade, it doesn't cost you anything. There is no minimum. You can buy stocks for as little as $1, and there's no minimum amount that you have to put into your account.
That's great. Guild Financial on the Apple Store and Android.
That's it.
So, very good. Well, gentlemen, thank you again for joining us. We're going to cut the break and we'll be right back.
Thanks.
So, don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Face the Issues. Sean, Mike, thank you again for your time, for your work on this. I want to ask you in this last segment a little about your military service and how has that bled into Guild? I mean, you've been in the financial industry, but what about your military service has really moved you to where you are today?
Yeah, so Mike and I, both have an interesting path to the military. Look, Mike's got a different story. Mike has much more of a military heritage than I do, especially Navy heritage. But for me, it was really 9/11. 9/11 was a seminal moment. I started off on the floor of the Philadelphia Stock Exchange, and then I was on the American Stock Exchange. One of those guys in the funny colored jackets, yelling and screaming, you used to see. It was a great place to be, great place to make a living. I had a business on the American Stock Exchange. I started my own firm up there when I was 26 years old. Had a couple guys working for me there, and then in Philadelphia. And when 9/11 hit, I happened to be back in Philadelphia because my daughter had just been born, but was on the phone with guys that morning and then was up there shortly after. And so it was a powerful thing for me. It really impacted the floor businesses too. They sort of started to go away at that time and go all electronic. So I ended up taking a job at one of the big banks on Wall Street. But then sort of the first thing I did was I pursued and eventually received a direct commission in the Navy Reserve as an intelligence officer. So it's a program that only the Navy has for intelligence. The other services will do it for medical or for lawyers. But the Navy, in its wisdom, will take in guys with non-prior service and make them officers and intelligence officers. So, for me, that was great. You do like a short version of OCS. We did it down at Pensacola. Then some human intelligence training, intel schools we talked about. I never went to war. I never sort of made it off the bench, but my time was great. I served with ONI, I served with DIA, and most of it's about the people, the people you work with. We did some operational stuff when I was with an ONI here domestically, which was interesting. But spent a lot of time at Fort Dix. Joined the Navy, see the world. Turns out it's a secure basement at Fort Dix. But
Mike, how about you?
Yeah, it's a similar story. My father was career Navy, so I was a bit of a Navy brat with my brothers and sisters. And at various points in my life, I thought about joining the Navy, and things just didn't sort of work out. And then after 9/11, I could not necessarily not heed that call, and found out about the direct commission program as well. Received my direct commission. I'm still serving in the reserves. So I'm going on my 17th year. I did have the good fortune to deploy to Iraq in 2009, 2010 with SEAL Team 4, and I tell people that was the best professional experience of my life. And I love wearing the uniform, and I'm proud to serve my country, and I'll keep doing it until they kick me out.
Well, gentlemen, thank you both for serving this country and for continuing to serve its brave men and women through Guild Financial. I really appreciate you guys joining me today.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks for letting us tell our story.
Yeah, absolutely. That is our show for tonight. I want to thank both Sean and Mike for joining us, and thank you for tuning in. We hope to see you right back here again next week. My name is Sam Chen. On behalf of all of us here at Face the Issues, thank you and good night.